If you know anything about me, you'll know I'm a massive fan of the Japanese developer NIHON FALCOM. They're the creators of two of my favorite series, those being The Legend of Heroes and Ys. Now, if you look at games that are coming out in 2023, you'll find that NIHON FALCOM is going at it hard in the West, thanks to the help of NIS America. In mid-March, we're getting Trails to Azure, in the summer we'll be getting Trails into Reverie, and at some point we're getting The Legend of Nyuta as well. It's rare that you see 3 games from the same developer in the same year unless that developer is exceptionally large. Falcom isn't. And they're a rather niche company as well. However, if you know anything about Falcom, you'll have some idea as to why we're getting 3 games in the West in 2023. So why are we getting 3 games next year? Simple. This is so that the West is finally close to caught up on the Trails series. Wait, hang on. If you know the series, you'll know we're now missing Kuro no Kiseki and Kuro no Kiseki 2 Crimson Sin. So why isn't NIS America localizing the first Kuro game, which also happens to be the first entry in the Calvard Arc? Glad you asked, random YouTube viewer. If you look up some of the interviews with Falcom's president, Toshihiro Kondo, you'll know that he has cheekily stated The Legend of Nyuta Boundless Trails will play a large part in the Trails stories going forward, so it makes sense as to why it's getting localized. So what specifically makes this so great for English-speaking Falcom fans? It's the fact we're finally going to have the Crossbell games localized. In September, we had Trails from Zero localized, and fans have been insanely happy ever since then. I've been picking away at Zero when I'm not writing scripts and recording audio for these videos, or live streaming on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Leafer90 if you want to check that out. I have to say, I do love that game, even though I'm not very far in. It's like a fine wine or an expensive meal. It's an experience you savor and experience everything the game has to offer, and that's one thing I love about the Trails series. They are not fast food JRPGs. They're a gourmet RPG, if you will. While they aren't the prettiest looking Japanese role-playing games on the market, I would say they're some of the best mechanically speaking. It also helps that from a story perspective, these games are some of the deepest and most lore-rich titles on the market, period. Basically, if you want an RPG that's going to stick with you long after the credits roll, this is the game series for you. Now with the intro out of the way, let's get into the meat of this video. You know how I mentioned Kuro no Kiseki in the intro? Yeah, that game needs to come out in the West. Also, given the fact NIS America put out a cease and desist to fans who were distributing the spreadsheet that translates the game into English, tells us NIS is going to release Kuro. Now, why would NIS do that and release all of the games we're missing? Simple. We know going forward the Crossbell duology is going to remain important, and we know some of the storylines in Kuro are established in Trails into Reverie, which officially closes out the Erebonia arc, which started in 2013's Trails of Cold Steel. Oh, God, it came out that long ago? God, I feel old.
I'm old, Gandalf.
With that little existential crisis out of the way, let's continue. Looking at the release dates for the 3 games coming out next year, it gives us a rough idea of when we might see the first Kuro game. I'd estimate the earliest we're going to see Kuro 1 is spring 2024, though it's possible we might see it in the latter half of 2024. The year after is the absolute latest point I'd imagine we'd get Crimson Sin, that is if NIS wishes to keep up with the future releases in the Legend of Heroes series, which we know are coming, even if the back half of the Calvard arc is currently on hold. So why is 2025 the absolute latest point we're going to see Kuro 2? Simply, Falcom, and by extension NIS America, are aiming to reduce the gap between Japanese, Asian, and Western releases on all of their games going forward. By releasing 3 games in 2023, and at minimum 1 game in 2024, that gets us caught up. This is also made easier by the release of Ys 10, which is slated for 2023 in Japan. The rumors indicate a September release window. The release of a new Ys game indicates Falcom want to take a break from the Legend of Heroes series, and that they probably want to reduce the release window to the West. If you're familiar with NIHON Falcom's business practices, you'll know they don't give any potential localization teams access to the scripts until the games are out in Japan. Logically speaking, this is Falcom shooting themselves in the foot. This is because it increases the wait time between localizations, and in the world of video games, this is a bad thing as it means your potential client base may or may not move on to new games. This long time between localization is in no small part one of the reasons Falcom remain a very small and lesser-known developer outside of Asia. Within Asia and in Japan specifically, Falcom is one of the more respected developers out there, despite their franchises remaining relatively small in terms of sales figures. Even the East series, which is their most mainstream series, as of 2017, the franchise has sold only 4.8 million copies worldwide, and it has been around since 1987. So how did we get into this situation where it's multiple years between the Japanese release and the worldwide one? I highly recommend you guys check out Matt McMuscle's What Happened episode on The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. He covers this subject in exhaustive detail. Link will be in the description. Given that information, why do I think Falcom are changing their business practices? It's in no small part thanks to the potential 2023 release of Ys 10. Think about it. The Ys games, despite having relatively deep stories for short, rompy action-adventure games, have very simple ones. That will make it easier than yet another Legend of Heroes game to localize. Seriously, if you don't believe me, Gear Nuke and a few other publications covered how Trails of Cold Steel 3's script was longer than the fucking Lord of the Rings trilogy and all 7 Harry Potter books by word count. Link for that will be in the description. I mean, Jesus Christ, I thought my Build the Roster for the Dead or Alive reboot was Birdie. Bleh. Birdie. Why did I say Birdie? Do I have birds on the brain? Damn. I mean, Jesus Christ, I thought my Build the Roster for the Dead or Alive reboot was wordy. But yeah, Ys 10 will have a far shorter script, thus making it far easier for NIS or whoever picks up the localization rights to, actually localize the thing. I've followed Falcom's business reports for a while now, and if you follow their business plan at all, they're making bigger and bigger pushes into the West. Their partnering with NIS America was just the first stepping stone in that process. While XSEED did an absolutely excellent job with their localization for Trails in the Sky 1st through 3rd chapters, plus the first 2 Trails of Cold Steel games, XSEED is a much smaller company than NIS America is. It's in no small part thanks to this bigger marketing budget and partnering with NIS America that has allowed Falcom to expand westward more rapidly. Another major indication Falcom are trying to expand westward is they're focusing on more cinematic storytelling. Part of why they've been able to do so is because of their improved game engine, a game engine they developed in-house, and it's a massive step up from the Fire engine used during the Erebonia arc. Trails into Reverie is actually the last game from Falcom using the Fire engine, and if you watch the trailer released for that game, you will see their more cinematic direction. See what I mean? You can see the improvements just by comparing those 2 trailers. Those are just some of the reasons Falcom fans are eating good in 2023. There are other reasons, and I might elaborate on those in a future video. But what are your thoughts? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you want to check out my other content, a video should be popping up on screen right about now. And you can check out my Twitch channel, www.twitch.tv/Lever90. Also, my socials will be in the description below.